Hi everyone, a very good morning to all joining us. Today with us we have Patralika Bhattacharjya ma'am with us, okay, and she comes with immense experience. Why I'm saying immense experience is that she comes with 25 plus years of rich and diverse experience in different domains, be it in public sector or private sectors, and she had even worked home as well and abroad as well. So you can identify with what experience exactly she comes with and what knowledge she would be sharing today with all of us. Okay. And most importantly, she's very passionate about economics and research work. The other day, when I was having a conversation with her, she wanted to focus on different and non-orthodox patterns or ways to teach students, especially economics, and which is not exactly followed across all the colleges and universities in India. And there are very few of them which follow such kind of teaching style, right? And she's continuously providing with different new fresh perspective to different economic scenarios. And thank you so much, ma'am, for joining
Thank
us
you
today.
so much for that introduction, and I'm very humbled. Yes, thank you for having me here.
Okay, ma'am. I don't know, but I would like to first of all start like you always believe ki there has to be something new in terms of teaching. I don't know, but economics is something that not many of the colleges or universities focus that much in terms of trying something new to teach them from an industry point of view or from a current scenario point of view, right? This is something that I would say a science stream college student, they are still like covering up that in that sense and bringing new light, new technology and other stuff. So what do you believe in that perspective, first of all, like talking about a new way or new perspective in terms of teaching, especially economics?
I personally believe that when I come across students, they cannot connect to the subject. I mean, there's a disconnect, which is being inherited from the school level. And when you're teaching at UG and PG levels, I feel that disconnect. So I always have a conscious effort to make them connect because it is such an interesting subject and it's all around you. You can actually see inflation and it is impacting you. It is impacting your everyday life. So it is much more real than as it appears in dry textbooks. And it is the job of the faculty to make sure that reality is transferred to the student and they understand that they are living a life which is deeply embedded in economics. It's all around us. Right. So you can see it happening and you just need to connect and be conscious about it. That's the role of the faculty.
Right, absolutely.
I feel that has to be done consciously.
And that too, right from school level, if possible.
Right from school level, yes. Of course, from school level. It starts with your currency note. You just start there where you're paying something right, or you're doing an online transaction also. That's an example which should be pointed out. And it doesn't matter what age you are being impacted by economics.
You can take an example of pocket money itself, right?
Pocket money, budgeting, and everything else like interest rates appear in your life a little later, of course, but even whatever is value, the concept of value, that comes from the value of something opposed to as contrasted to the price of something.
Right.
So
right.
that is that would come across in economics. If you have to realize that internally, the price does not equal value. And you might be doing it in an economics textbook, but if somebody were to point it out that your price of your school bag or the price of your school bag when you were in class 10, and then when you have moved on to college, you're carrying a bag, there is a price difference and that is caused by inflation. And the value has not changed. It's the same school, it's the same bag that you're carrying, roughly the same. So that has to be got across by the teacher. And that is very, very crucial to invite that interest from the students.
So just from what you just mentioned, I would just like to ask you a small point. Don't you think the parents also should take that effort? I'm not saying that be future vision like your son or daughter would be an economist, right? But from the sense that when you are giving them information, for example, the current scenario, economic scenario, if you like have a regular discussion, why can't you have it?
Yeah,
those
of
lines?
course. At the dining table, yes, it should be brought up. I mean, something which is an economic, which is a political thing like Brexit, where they decide to exit the alliance with the European nations. That is also going to be impacting you economically because you're refusing to take that alliance anymore, economic alliance. So if you have an embargo, which is you put sanctions on Russia for invading Ukraine, that is again politics impacting economics. Right. So eventually, because we are all economic beings, we move with resources are meaningful to us, and because resources are scarce, this is a very basic +2 lesson. They have to be assigned meaningfully, whether it is time or it's money or it's a raw material, it has to be assigned meaningfully to the correct place. So that, requires discretion and how to assign the correct resource to the correct place. Now, when we talk about management of time or management of money or management of any raw material so that it is assigned to the correct place, you're basically doing that. You're asking it to take an economic decision so that it's the best possible decision for that particular resource, whether it is time, money, or raw material, or entrepreneurship.
Correct. Fairly pointed out. Yeah, right.
It should be brought, of course, because my daughter is not into economics, but she has often referred to the dining table discussions we've had, which has given her a clear sense of the world around her, seeing world from the view of economics, how it is impacting you in everyday life. Correct. So those discussions should be consciously done by the parents, I feel. So you get that real life feel. That's really not confined to the textbook.
Rather than knowing later when you have to pay the interest on different notes.
No matter how young you are, and now people have they're starting really young, you're handling money across your lifetime. And that is, you should really start those lessons early about what is value and what is, the prices do change, but value remains the same. Right. And there's a lot of things going on around us which you should be pointing out to the children.
So moving on from this, ma'am, what according to you are the prospects of world economy in 2023? Like we have just about to end December, starting with 23. So what do you see in that in terms of prospects for world economy?
Yeah, we have, I was referring to, there are a number of events which we have just moved across, like we were just recovering from COVID slowdown, and there's a convergence of events right now. So you have the war in Ukraine, you have runaway inflation across the world, you have aggressive interest rates hikes by central banks, because they're really trying to contain inflation. This is happening globally. This is point 3. Point 4, you have, because of COVID, you have continued supply chain disruptions, which we are experiencing right now. And you have lockdowns in China. So I'm referring to 5 points here. All of these are converging together to lead to recessionary conditions across the world. Now, in layman's terms, what happens is, of course, when the central bank hikes interest rates, and they have been hiked today morning also, I just got a message. When the central bank hikes interest rates, it's good news for savers, but it is not good news for investors because the cost of borrowing goes up. So they tend to postpone their investment decisions. Businesses tend to postpone their investment decisions, right? But what the central bank has an interest is, because it's trying to contain inflation, there's too much money chasing too few goods. There's too much aggregate demand in the economy with very little supply. The central bank is trying to contain that inflation factor. Prices are spiraling out of control, and this impacts fixed income earners.
Exactly.
So the central bank has to contain that excessive demand in the economy. It has to sort of cool down the economy. Right. And what happens is it impacts businesses negatively, because they tend to postpone their investment decisions. Because like I said, to the layman, the cost of borrowing goes up with the interest rate goes up. Right. And this tends to cause, the recessionary conditions. Your demand, your investment is not happening to the extent that it should be. Now, apart from that, you also have supply chain disruptions, which are continuing from the COVID era. And you also have this Ukraine war. So an external exogenous, it's an exogenous shock, but it disturbs the economy because you have wheat prices, which is going up, and that impacts, again, it's causing fueling inflation. You have energy prices going up, fueling inflation. And you also have property markets have been hit very badly. And all this causes a very, very recessionary situation in the country, across the world, actually, across the globe. So these are the 5, I think, main pointers which would lead to inflationary conditions, and the central bank is having to control that and raise interest rates, which is actually causing recession, and it's likely to continue in the near future, which is 2023.
Right. So yeah, every day, like you also mentioned, you just receive a news about the hike in the rates.
Interest rates, yeah, that's good for savers, but it's not necessarily good for investors, because investors do not like interest rates going up. It's a disincentive to invest when interest rates go up.
So like we discussed, key overall across the globe, and especially in UK, we have been hearing a lot in US.
Energy prices, yes.
So is kind of recession inevitable in 2023? Do you think so?
Yeah, recession is inevitable in 2023 because we're standing in December 2022, and you are seeing low growth rates because of, like I said, the supply chain disruptions and the war in Ukraine, which is impacting inflation because of wheat and energy prices, and we also have hike rates are also going up. So the predictions, you are likely to see the recession continuing in 2023 because that's what the reports show. There's been a contraction. Right. Also, the world population is growing very fast. We've reached the 8 billion, 8 billion total population. Yes. You're also having global tech companies going into contraction mode where they are laying off workers. Your major global tech giants are laying off workers. And this is also contributing because the labor market is contracting in that sense. So this is also contributing to recession, low demand. Right. And it is quite unprecedented because central banks have really never hiked interest rates to this extent in recent past, recent history. But they're having to do it to cool down the system.
It's really kind of out of their control.
Overheated. It's called overheating. Yes.
Yeah. Right. So at times we believe that the economies, the emerging economies, are still better off in terms of being hit by any scenarios. For the example,
yes.
Right?
Totally.
So,
yes.
So will the emerging economies be better off again in 2023 to a certain extent as compared to the developed ones?
Yeah, emerging economies are supposed to be the best off because Asia has a very optimistic outlook at the moment. For example, in China, we have private consumption is recovering, and this could lead the economy to a modest recovery next year. Europe is supposed to be on a downward trend. The US is moderately in recession, but Asia has the most optimistic outlook. And I'll go country by country. We have 3 of the world's largest economies. We look at China. China is, there is a forecast of 3.2% growth for China in 2023, which is good, but it is low compared to recent years. You have Japan, which is well developed. It has an aging population. You must be aware that Japan has a demographic, it does not have a dividend. It's really has a very large aging population, which is bad because that portion of the population does not earn, but you are expected to finance their lifetime. Right? So this is growth. Because of that aging population, their growth rates are take in the best possible macro environments. Right. For India, one of the very good things that is really working in our favor is our digital infrastructure. And we have an advanced digital infrastructure, this UPI interface, and that is really giving it a very good edge to surpass Japan and Germany and perhaps become the world's largest economy by 2027, third largest economy by 2027. So there is conditions in place for India for an economic boom. There's a lot of investments going on in manufacturing and energy, and this is causing. So for Japan, China, and India, there is the green shoots you can expect, but that's not the same for US and definitely not Europe. Those are expected to look recessionary in the near future. So
Right.
that could be.
Right. So you rightly highlighted the point in the sense that in case of Japan, you have the aging population, whereas India is considered among having the most ideal
Demographic dividend, yeah,
exactly.
It's called. And it also has a very good digital infrastructure, which is helping to facilitate transactions. That there's a lot of potential there because the digital infrastructure is it's a backbone to transactions which are happening. So if that is facilitated, if the digital infrastructure, the volume of transactions can really go up.
Exactly.
That is very, very important. That is really keeping India, giving it a competitive edge for the next couple of years. And it's in the best position to handle recession.
So maybe demonetization had something to help with this.
Yeah. For whatever reason, there's a behavioral change where we are choosing to go for that. Perhaps COVID also had it because you do not want to touch cash.
Right. Correct.
Not want to touch currency for your own safety.
So I believe most of the economists we don't give that much credit demonetization because it wasn't that good, right?
Yeah, I would say that I think cashless thing was accentuated by COVID, well, not by COVID, because of Europe. We were in lockdown, and that really accentuated the need for good health and to be free of safety, and everything was really pushed down our throats at that point. It's very important, otherwise it could be a mortality effect on that.
Yeah, rightly. Okay, great. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time.
Thank you so much for